Hello, Oana, and I am very sorry. Well, yeah, I am quite sorry to disturb your morning, evening, afternoon, whatever with this. But I do like the idea of talking to you through some medium, and this is the medium that I am currently enjoying using quite a lot. And I've just decided that it was about bloody time that I did one for you. If and when you see this, I'm sure you, well, I'm not sure. I'm reasonably confident that you will see this at some point. If not, I will make Dory sit you down in front of a computer at some point, perhaps on Christmas Day, and watch it. Yeah, I'm not sure that this is exactly what would lead to a joyous and harmonious Christmas. But in a misguided attempt to spread joy and harmony, I have, however... sorry, is that loud for you? Itchy beard. Look, I shaved 3 days ago. What the bloody hell is going on here? Somebody's put fertilizer on my face. It's disgusting. Right. Yes, you will not have heard this, but at the HP party to celebrate Dory's and Alfred's nuptials, I kind of offered them a joint present, and, well, the joint present, well, it's a long story, because the first one I forgot about, which was a joint horoscope, but my brain isn't good enough to do those anymore, so I binned that, I'm afraid. And the second one was a joint reading, a joint YouTube video to celebrate their favourite author, their joint favourite author. I do still intend to do that. I just don't do things on a normal timescale anymore. But it was, I mischievously suggested, going to be a reading from your friend and mine, Mr. Cioran, and I then slowly, and perhaps with some help, came to the decision that readings celebrating suicide, endless physical and mental decrepitude, and hatred weren't the ideal way of showing my genuine joy on Alfred's and Dory's behalf. So I binned that idea, and instead I'm going to do it for you. And as incentive for putting up with my take on the Black Priest of 20th century thought, there will be something nicer afterwards, I promise you. So you'll just have to keep watching me. You know, cover your eyes or put a paper bag over the computer screen or something. I will get to a point that might interest you in, I don't know, 5 minutes. Yeah, about 5 minutes. But before I do, I'm just going to do a short passage. I mean, I could read any of these things. And they would all have some kind of relevance, some kind of pregnant, not symbolism, they don't have symbolism really, pregnant implication for, well, for me, because I am the only person that matters, and for anyone else who chooses to exist in a Cioranic frame of mind. I don't choose to exist in that frame of mind, but sometimes it's inevitable. Gosh. I'm sure you know these almost off by heart, so they are enticing, each of them. This is the only Cioran book I have. I want to read some of the others at some point. Anyway, let's cut straight to what lies at the heart of his view of the world. Sorry, I'm leaning over because the light is not good. If I mess around with my lamp, it means yeah, that you get a full-on glance, excuse me, at my shiny face, and I don't want to subject you to that. So I'll adopt this position. No, that's annoying because this is actually my better side. This is my horrible side. You won't believe that this is my better side, but I think it is. Right. Okay. From A Short History of Decay. Page 110 of my edition, which is this edition. I'm sure you're not bothered. And it's simply called On Melancholy. When we cannot be delivered from ourselves, we delight in devouring ourselves. In vain we call upon the Lord of Shades, the bestower of a precise curse. We are invalids without disease, and reprobates without vices. Melancholy is the dream state of egoism. No longer any object outside oneself, no reason for hate nor love, but that same fall into a languid mud, that same circling of the damned without a hell, those same reiterations of a zeal to perish. Whereas sadness is content with a circumstantial context, melancholy requires a debauch of space, an infinite landscape, in order to spread out its sullen and vaporous grace, its shapeless evil, which, fearing to recover, dreads any limit to its dissolution and its undulation. It expands, strangest flower of self-love, among the poisons from which it extracts its vital juices and the vigour of all its failures. Feeding on what corrupts it, melancholy hides under the melodious under its melodious name, self-commiseration and the pride of defeat. I think I understood everything there, except for the one phrase, debauch of space. I don't know, I think that means melancholy needs mental and physical room in which to expand in its debauched way. I don't know, that passage itself is just full of phrases that should be engraved in stone, engraved on people's hearts, possibly tattooed on their foreheads. Excuse me. And your reward is this. Excuse me. Oh, Jesus. I don't know if my cable is long enough. Oops. There we are. And this is your reward. Whoops, can you see that? I hope this is something that might at least be of interest, rather than encouraging you to tear out your hair, sink into dismay, and to wonder what aspect of the world you hate the most. How do I have... Sorry, yeah, I did go through a cooking phase. I really did. And this I thought was lovely. Oh, did I ever tell you... we haven't talked, of course, so I probably didn't. My favourite ever cookbook, I would be very interested to hear yours, is Memories of Gascony by Pierre Kaufmann. I think Korf, possibly double F, I don't know, Kaufmann, M-A-N-N, one of those. I'm sure you'll find it, or I'm sure you know it. Which really is a celebration of the rustic and full-flavoured delights of his home region, which he brought to London in the form of a very, very famous restaurant called La Tante Claire, which was situated in one of the luxury London hotels. I can't remember which. Was it the Berkeley? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, it's gone now, unfortunately. And it's my eternal regret that I never ate there. But the book is a diary of a young man's love affair with food, with his local food, with his country. What I used to do... I did one recipe from there, and I can't remember what it was now. I'm useless. I shouldn't have started this. I'll have to find the book. Anyway. This, by contrast, I really know very little about it. It's kind of not a similar thing, but it is a celebration of Italian genius in respect of food and ingredients, especially. And I did mark one interesting passage to read to you, and I can't find it. Oh, hang on, I saw a page turned down somewhere. Oh, John. Do you know Anna del Conte? I don't know. She's famous. I've never heard of her apart from in this book. There's the thing. Is it turned down because I wanted to read it, or is it turned down because I wanted to cook it? Did used to cook quite a lot. Alright, which one do we want to go for? Oana. Insalata di finocchio e d'arance. No. I'm sure you do that without even batting an eyelid, as we say in England. To bat an eyelid means, or to do something without batting an eyelid is to do something automatically. To do something without thinking that it's special. Right. I am going to I'm going to read the entry on it's getting a bit trendy to be rude about tuna. I can sort of see why. It is rather unadventurous. Have you seen the ghastly pictures of the tuna kills in Sicily? Yeah, the Matanza, I think it's called Matanza, when the sea turns red. Not a pretty sight. And one which I have to admit does make me reluctant to eat tuna, except on very special occasions. Anyway, I will just read what Anna del Conte says. Tonno is a fish of exceptional proportions, said Platina, the 15th century writer, in his De honesta voluptate et valetudine. I'm sorry. It can be as long as 2 meters. It swims at amazing speed, its beautiful dark body looking like a torpedo flashing through the waves. Tuna migrate towards the shore and even up the mouths of rivers to spawn in the early summer. At that stage, they are called tonni di corso, and when they return in late summer, they are called tonni di ritorno. Their migratory movements, however, are something of a mystery. Alan Davidson, in his invaluable Mediterranean Seafood, and I must interrupt there, have you read his, same writer, Davidson, Davidson, I'm pretty sure it's him, North Atlantic Seafood. That's another really astonishing cookery book. Suggests that they, quote, might be mainly governed by water temperature and by the movements of other fish on which they feed. It is when the tuna are on the move to spawn that the Sicilian Matanza del Tonno, the slaughter of the tuna, takes place. The Matanza has always been a ritualistic occasion, much enjoyed by the Sicilian fishermen. Apparently, the method of catching and killing the fish was learnt from the Phoenicians, and it has changed very little since then. Patrick Bryden, Brydone, in one of his letters from Sicily, written in 1770, describes how this was, and still is, done. Quote, these fish do not make their appearance in the Sicilian seas till towards the latter end of May, at which time the tonaros, as they call them, are prepared for their reception. This is a kind of aquatic castle, formed at great expense of strong nets, fastened to the bottom of the sea by anchors and heavy leaden weights. These tonaros are erected in the passages amongst the rocks and islands that are most frequented by the tunny fish. They take care to shut up with nets the entry into these passages, all but one little opening, which is called the outward gate of the tonaro. Bryden then describes how the fish are driven from the hall to the antechamber by the fishermen making a noise on the surface of the water, their escape being cut off by a net that is let down to shut them in. After the antecamera comes the camera della morte, the chamber of death. This is composed of the stronger nets and heavier anchors than the others. As soon as they have collected a sufficient number of tuna fish, they are driven from all the other rooms into the chamber of death, where the slaughter begins. The fishermen, armed with a kind of spear or harpoon, attack the poor defenceless animals on all sides, which now, giving themselves up to despair, dash about with great force and agility, throwing the water all over the boats and tearing the nets to pieces. They often knock their own brains out against the rocks or the anchors, and sometimes even attack the boats of their enemies." End of quote. The flesh of the tuna is rather dense and dry, and I find that it is improved by being marinated in a mixture of vinegar and water, as suggested by the Sicilian writer Albo denti di Piragno, Pirajno. Never seen a J in Italian before. Piragno, in his fascinating book Il gastronomo educato. However, I think tuna is an excellent fish, and it is now easily available, sometimes even caught in British waters. Tuna has been popular since Roman times. Apicius, Apicius, writes recipes in which the tuna is boiled, a favourite cooking method of the Romans for both fish and meat, and then dressed with a sweet and sour sauce containing oil and garum. The combination of tuna with a sweet and sour sauce is still a favourite, together with the classic Mediterranean method of cooking it with tomatoes, as in the recipe I shall give here. A very important use of tuna is its preservation in olive oil or brine. In the old days it used to be preserved in barrels covered with olive oil, tonno sott'olio, the best part being the tender, juicy belly of the fish, called the ventresca. You can buy tins of ventresca in some specialist delicatessens in Italy, as well as tuna preserved in barrels and sold by weight. Preserved tuna is used quite extensively in Italian cooking. Rolls are made with it, vegetables are stuffed with it, as in the excellent recipe for onion on page 117 of this book, and it is used in many pasta sauces. Possibly the best known dish made with tuna is the Tuscan dish Insalata di fagioli e tonno, bean and tuna fish salad, which was found on the menus of most Italian restaurants outside Italy. The basic recipe is very simple, the principal ingredients being tuna, excuse my bloody tongue. Ugh. Cannellini beans, usually tinned, and onions. I add a few touches, which make it prettier and better. I used dried cannellini, cannellini, which are better than tinned ones, so that I first have to soak and cook them. I use red onions, which are sweeter than white ones, and spring onions, which are sweeter than white onions or spring onions. And I marinate them in lemon juice for about 2 hours. And thirdly, I spoon the beans over a bed of radicchio, which adds a touch of colour, a slightly bitter edge, and a crunchy texture. The flaked tuna comes next, and the red onion is scattered on top. The dressing is the best olive oil, lots of black pepper, and a little salt. Well, a simple recipe for a very simple and delicious starter. I didn't know it was going to go off into the recipe. I just really wanted to read to you about the importance of the tuna in Italian life, really. So, yes, Cioran and Anna del Conte. That's a nice? No, I don't think it's nice. An unusual menu. I don't actually have a third course for you. I can't even remember what third course is in Italian. No, I can't. I'm having, obviously. Oana, I'm sorry. I'm having trouble with English today, so my chances of saying anything meaningful, as if in Italian, are 0. So, having made that decision, I am going to leave you alone and wish you endless happiness and good luck with everything you turn your hand to. We know you're brilliant, and I'm really hoping that the rest of the world will soon appreciate your brilliance, in whatever form you may wish to display it. Bye-bye.